Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cyclical Investors Club YouTube channel. My name is Corey Kramer. Today, we are going to be analyzing HIMS and HERS Health, ticker HIMS. This one came in by request down in the comments section of one of my other videos. If you have a request of a stock you'd like me to take a look at, put it down in the comments. I will get it on the chalkboard behind me, and eventually I will make a video for you. As always, this is not individual investing advice. This is just how I analyze stocks. So somebody picked one that I am long. I just made one on ELF, the video before this, and I was long that one. And this one I am long as well. This was also a pick over on my weekly picks not too long ago. And somehow, amazingly, it's up like 80% or 90%. Not something I was actually expecting, but it's nice to get one of those winners in there. So these guys do like, if you haven't heard their ads, which I'm sure you have, they do like not subscription, but well, I think they do have like subscriptions, but prescription, generic prescriptions for like ED. But the main thing is they're doing like in hair loss and but now they're doing weight loss, and that's kind of the direction that they're going. So if you don't know, like the whole weight loss drugs are like a big deal, well, they can do like the old school versions. And then there was a shortage for a while where they could do compounded versions of Ozempic and whatever the other Wegovy, or I can't remember all the exact names. But so this is a new line of business for them, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason that that's what's been driving the stock price rise. So what I want to do is, since this stock is up, so we bought it in the full Cyclical Investors Club before it was a weekly pick, and I think it's up like 150%, which is kind of crazy because we didn't buy it that long ago, like I think less than a year ago. But and I have in the full Cyclical Investors Club service, I have a strategy that's specifically designed to try to find these early stage growth companies. And that's not the exact strategy that I'm going to share here because it's exclusive to the cyclical, like either the weekly picks or the full Cyclical Investors Club. But that's how we came across it. But the strategy that I'm going to use now works because they have earnings established, so we can look at real earning. Like they didn't really have much in the way of earnings established when we bought it using my other strategy, but we do now. And so now I can try to project some of that and see what this valuation looks like. And I have a technique I've used a couple times on here. I forget what stocks. Maybe it was Mercado Libre that I'll show you. It's the time until payback, but it has a little bit of a twist. So what we want to know is how long it would take if we bought this company for us to earn our investment back from their earnings. Now, I use a 20% maximum assumed growth rate when I do this strategy because it's really hard to grow 20% a year for like 10 years, or more in some cases, depending on how expensive the stock is. But sometimes when these companies are just taking off, you can see earnings went from like slightly negative to very positive, and they grew almost 600%, right? So it's hard to model that out if you just assume a smooth 20% each year growth rate. So what I like to do is take analyst estimates looking forward 2 years. So that would be 68 cents a share here. Usually it's 2 to 2.5. If a person wanted, they could do 3, but the third year is 20%, and that's what I'm going to assume anyway. So we're going to, now often when this happens, like if I would have done it last year, earnings would have been like 600% higher than what they were at the time, right? This time's a little weird because they think earnings are going to be flat this year and then grow 25% next year. I don't think anybody knows what these guys' earnings are going to do because there's regulations, there's demand, there's competition, there's all kinds of stuff going on, and so there's a lot of moving parts. But we can use that as our starting point and then use a 20% earnings growth rate, and using those assumptions, we can see how long it would take to earn our money back. And whatever calculation I come to, I can just add 2 years to. So this is a way to to use this strategy with a company that doesn't have a lot of earnings. Now, one caveat to this is this doesn't really take into account like recessions. It kind of assumes that these businesses are small enough or they're growing fast enough that even in a recession, they'll either bounce back really quickly, or they'll take market share enough still that they can kind of grow earnings, or maybe not have their earnings fall nearly as much as everybody else and then rebound quickly because they're kind of a growth business, right? So this is a more aggressive strategy, I would say, than like a full cycle strategy where I have 15 years of data and I can go back and see what earnings have done, and I can take into account their fluctuations and know how cyclical they are. If this does end up being a cyclical business, it's probably not super cyclical, honestly. I mean, maybe a little bit, because they are some sort discretionary to some degree, like choices to buy, but they're so much cheaper than the other ones that maybe more people, instead of getting the name brand, will opt for the generic, right? So it's hard to say without having that history to look at. Those are the risks, though. The risks involving the valuation, right, that you should know about, but I'm not going to do any fancy calculations to try to take them into account. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look forward. They're expected to earn 68 cents a share in 2 years. So that's what I'm going to use, 68 cents a share. When I do that, I get an earnings yield of 1.60%. That probably means it has a very high PE ratio. Let's see actually what it is. Yeah, almost 80, right? So the earnings yield is just the earnings over the price instead of the price over the earnings. So this is the same as the PE ratio. If this will be the forward PE ratio, so it's going to have some growth baked in. This earnings yield will compared to that PE, because I'm looking forward 2 years and I'm basically pulling those earnings forward. All right, so this means if you paid $100 for this business, it would earn $1.60 on your $100 each year. And then again, the maximum I assume that this will grow each year is 20%. So I have that 20% in as my maximum rate, because it's very hard to grow faster than that for a long period of time. So the first year on your $100, you'd earn $1.92. The next year, $2.30. The next year, $2.76. And you could collect that each year and see how long it would take you to get to $100. And it looks like it would take about 14 years to get to $100 using these assumptions. So that is how long it would take to earn your money back. But remember, we bumped it forward 2 years, so you need to add 2 years onto the 14. So that brings us to 16-year time until payback. So I would say that's very expensive, and more expensive than the S&P 500. And so definitely not a buy. I didn't calculate where it would be a buy, but I should probably do that for everybody. Let's see. So we want this number here with the 2 years to really get down to like 10, honestly. So I would say maybe I should look back at when I bought it, how much. I don't remember exactly. I don't remember when we did it, but I'll get a glance at the price here. So yeah, let's try like $15 a share and see how that works. So let's see if we can get that down to 8. That's 9. There's 8. I'm just trying some different. Okay, so in between $13 and $14 a share, I would call it 13 would get us to a 10-year time until payback using the current assumptions of 68 cents earnings in 2 years. So that's quite a bit lower. And I do own this stock. So I'm not just selling you the stocks that I own. Now, the strategy that I use to buy this stock is the buy and hold strategy. So even though if this was a more mature company and it had a 16-year time until payback, I would consider selling it. But since this is part of a buy and hold strategy for the very long term, even though I know it's overvalued probably, and it could fall like 50%. I don't know if it would fall far enough for me to ever buy it again, and I don't want to spend each day guessing whether I should sell these very long-term holds. And so I'll keep holding on to it even though it's overvalued, but I wouldn't rush out and buy it right now. I would wait until it's at least down to like $15 a share. Now that will change if earnings expectations improve. So if 2 years forward, they expect to earn $1 a share, which could happen with a company like this, then that buy price would go up, obviously. But this rise has been, I actually don't think I've ever had a stock rise this fast, other than maybe during the pandemic. I think it's speculation on deregulation, and maybe with Robert Kennedy Jr. being, I watched part of his speech for Health and Human Services Secretary, maybe, where obesity was like his number one goal, basically. So one way to do that is to make these obesity drugs more widely available. And I think the market is betting on that being good for HIMS. That's my guess, but I don't know. So who knows? I'm glad I bought this one, especially with ELF falling so much. But I don't know what the future is going to hold, and I wouldn't suggest buying it until it was cheaper or earnings expectations rise. Okay, if you found this useful, hit the like and subscribe button. If you have a request, put it down in the comments, and I'll see everybody later.